known as Cleveland Missing, and I also chair the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee. The purpose of everyone coming here today is we want to cast some light on the case of Amanda Dean, who's been missing for 5 years. And so I'm going to turn things over to the family here in just a second. They're going to talk about Amanda. They're going to talk about her as a person, as a daughter, as a sister, and as a mother. And then once they're done talking, we will open up the field to questions from anybody in the media. We're certainly appreciative of everybody being here today to help us get the word out. So I've explained to them that they'll say that what their name is, they'll spell their name out and everything else for purposes of media reporting. So we'll start to my left. If you could just say your full name and your relationship with Amanda, and then we'll go down the line.
I'm Shannon Dean, Shannon, Dean, D-E-A-N. I am Amanda's sister.
I'm Carolyn Tokar, C-A-R-O-L-I-N-E, T-O-K-A-R, and I'm Amanda's mother.
I'm Joshua Dean, J-O-S-H-U-A. I'm her son.
Okay, so Caroline, if you want to go ahead and just provide the media with a little bit of background on Amanda and tell us why you're here today and what you'd like to convey to them.
Well, Amanda is my youngest daughter. She was always a bright light to me. She was fun-loving, witty, had a smile that just light up any room. And she loved her kids. She loved family. She loved fishing. She loved crafts. She loved singing. She had a golden voice. And great heart. And she became a grandparent. She doesn't know she's got 2 grandchildren, and a boy and a girl. And one will be 2 pretty soon, or 3, I'm sorry, 3 years old. I have 13 grandchildren, so it's hard to keep up with the new ones. But she's a family person, and I just want her home. This is out of character for Amanda. She's never gone hardly any time without a phone call, without communication of some sort with her family. So, but I love her. Love you, Amanda. I hope you'll come home soon and meet the new additions to the family.
Shannon?
Amanda was very cheerful. She loved life. She loved her family. She loved her kids. We had a very good relationship. She loved art. She's very artistic, and music. She loved to sing. She loved karaoke, and she definitely was a great singer. She gets that from my dad. But she had a voice that was just so beautiful, and when she'd sing, it was just like, you were just like in awe. But she was very friendly. She loved animals. She had a really beautiful dog named Baby Dean. There's so much that I could tell you about Amanda. I mean, so much. But I think the main thing is, I know she would not stay this long away from her family. Because I know she's a very loving person with her family. If you see her pictures, there's not one picture that she wasn't smiling in when we took it. Like, you know, she was playful. And she was always there, no matter what. You had a problem, bad day, she was there, and vice versa. You know, she always looked for us if she had a bad day, and we would make her smile, you know, or try to help her as much as possible. That's why I just know she would not She would not leave her family. She would not. This is not her character. She was my sister, and I feel like they took her away from me. It's so horrible when you don't have answers.
But we want her to come home.
And I do. Amanda, if you can hear me. I love you. And I know you would want to come home. And I hope. I have faith that you will come home.
We're waiting for you. Your boys are waiting for you. She has 4 boys, and this is the oldest one.
We have a new nephew too,
Yeah.
Jackson. So I'm sorry.
There we go. Let's see. Me and my mom had a very special relationship. She wasn't just a mother to me. She was more of a best friend of sorts. I could come to her with pretty much whatever troubles I was having as a teenager. She was just a very fun time to be around, very free spirit. It's kind of hard because I haven't really, a lot of the time that I spent with her, we were just hanging out, singing, you know, in the car, having fun. And losing a best friend / losing my mom is not something that is easy to talk about, of course. It just hurts, you know. I wish something would have been done sooner, but I'm grateful for what we got going on right now. I appreciate all of you guys coming through. Sorry. Oh. I just want my mom home. Honestly, she really was my best friend, you know. It sucks.
She's a big part of this family.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I just wish she'd come home. I just want to see her, hang out with her, have fun again like we used to. It's been 5.5 years now. I've grown up. Last time I saw her, I was still in high school. I'm 24 now. I have 2 kids of my own. You know, she doesn't even know that. It's difficult. It really is.
Amanda, I just hope and pray. A lot of prayers are being said that you'll come home.
A lot of support too.
Yes.
And that's definitely
We're
a plus.
waiting. We're waiting for you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I could. I'm Matt Westerholt with the Sandusky Register. What do you hope to see happens next? The investigation is just getting started, and in fact, there was never any real investigation previously. So this is something you've waited for more than 5.5 years.
Right.
What do you hope happens right away, this month? What do you want to see happen?
I want to see my daughter. That's the main thing.
I want justice for her. I want to see her. I want to know that she's okay.
And how can you, what do you want the BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, what do you hope they can do specifically? Are there specific things you hope they can do?
Well, I think because it's all, they have to start from the beginning, because basically there was no investigation previously. The missing persons report was canceled within 24 hours back 5.5 years ago. So there was really no case open, but now that it is in BCI's hands, I'm hoping that they have to start from the beginning, of course. I know it takes a lot of patience on our part because we want it now. But I think we've got a good team we're working with right now. And I just want to see them, let them do their job, let them do whatever they got to do, but I hope they bring her home or bring us answers.
And do you fear Amanda was the victim of violence? She had an on-again, off-again boyfriend. Can you talk a little bit about that and your concerns about that person?
Yeah, she had it was a guy named, his name was Fred. It was off again, on again for a couple years. But it started getting violent. He started getting violent with her. Black eyes. I mean, these were things that were reported to the sheriff. There is one instance that I was told that she was drugged around. They lived in a cabin in Collins, Ohio, on Fred's family's property. There was a cabin, and they stayed in the cabin. And she had told her sister that he put a belt around her neck and drug her around the cabin on Christmas Day.
Now, you were at that property when you initially reported Amanda missing, and you wanted to search that property.
Mm-hmm.
But you were with a group of people, a search party, effectively.
That's correct. The day after we had got it out there on Facebook, we needed people to help us search for her because of the comments. You know, I mean, she's gone. Fred's mother texted my daughter Shannon and was saying that Amanda's gone and Fred and her weren't good together and wished the best for her, and we didn't know that. And I was on my way to a doctor's appointment. Shannon texted me to tell me, and I asked her to call the sheriff right away. I said, something's not right there. But there were some previous calls to the sheriffs about her well-being and violence, which they could have arrested them at one time and chose not to because the evidence was there. But anyways, go ahead. You want to? Yeah. All right. So, but he was very, he was very violent with her, and I think there was at one point where there, you know, that I think there's drugs there, there's ammunition there on the property. But the day we got the search team going, and we had like 8 people meet us in Norwalk, and we headed out to the property on Collins on Wells Road. We got to his house, his parents' house, and they had signs all up, said no trespassing, violators will be shot. So we weren't allowed to search the property.
And so that property's never been searched?
No, as far as I know, no.
And do you think that's something that should happen, that you would like to see happen?
Almost definitely. It should have happened a long time ago.
And what else do you think, do you hope an investigation will do? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but are there things that you hope the investigation will do that'll give you answers?
Yes. I'm hoping that they do get whatever they need, search warrant, whatever, to go onto the property, go to that cabin. But there's also something else. The day after her disappearance, there was an anonymous caller to the sheriff's office, and deputy had a report on this that Fred Rear, the night of July 11th, spent the night at his friend's father's house, which was not something that usually happened, but he spent the night in a garage or something on the property. But he had also made threats to his friend that he was going to kill Amanda and stuff her in a blue barrel.
Now that's information that is in a deputy's report.
Yes, and there was no follow-up.
From that day.
Nobody did nothing.
So do you anticipate the investigator with BCI as the lead investigation team, to your understanding?
Yes.
Do you expect that those individuals should be interviewed?
Yes.
Okay.
Most definitely. I mean, the information's on the report, except for our phone number was blacked out, but the address of where he stayed that night is on that report. And he said he felt concerned because he heard the next day that this girl was missing, and he had heard him say Amanda Dean, he was gonna kill her and stuff her in a barrel. And that's why they contacted the Huron County Sheriff's Office to make that report. And there was no follow-up. I have a copy of the report.
Okay, we got a question over here from Tracy from Channel 5.
Hi, it's Tracy Chilton. Can you just take us back, since we don't have any, I don't know any of the additional details of when it first happened. When did she disappear? How did she disappear? When was the last time you saw her?
July 11th, 2017 was when we reported her missing. I probably had not seen her, probably about 2 or 3 weeks before this happened was the last time I had seen her. Her sister was in contact with her almost every day. They were on the phone talking to each other. Shannon would know more about that.
Well, because he destroyed a lot of her phones, in fact, all of them, like she ever had.
The boyfriend the abusive boyfriend she dated.
That is
Yes.
correct. The only way she can get a hold of me is when she would take Fred's phone and text me, and then she said, I have to erase this, so please don't text back. So she would let me know, if she was okay and stuff, and if she needed anything. And there'll be times that she would call me from Ren's phone, which is his mother, and it's like an off and on thing. I was allowed there and then I wasn't allowed there because I didn't agree with what Fred was doing to my sister. And so there was a lot of altercations. And yeah, I was even advised when I reported him giving her a black eye not to go back on the property for right now because for my safety, they were afraid, of anything. So even though it was my sister, I wasn't going to stay away. But there was several incidents that she'd get a phone and then he would break it, they get into a fight, and so,
Was she living with him?
yeah, off and on.
And so what was the last message that you got from her? Was it the day before, or was it July 11th? When was the last time that you had communication with her?
I believe because the last message I had with Amanda was we were actually going to remove her from that home, that cabin. I had talked to my Aunt Geneva, and she said that Amanda can go ahead and move in with her and stay with her as long as she wants, so it was all set in stone. I told Amanda, I hope you're ready to go, because Geneva said it was all right, because we were talking back and forth about it, and then, I was working at a hospital, so I had to wait till my day off and stuff, and then I got a text from Ren, which is Fred's mother, stating, well, I went to the cabin and know Amanda, and she said some other things about her and Fred just wasn't good for each other, and she was really nice to Fred's brother and Paul, and she just was mentioning things, and I was just like, what are you talking about? So my initial thought was what did he do to her? Why would you text me this? Because Amanda didn't go anywhere else. I was supposed to come and get her and take her to Geneva's. So that's when I texted Mom and I said, I don't understand this, and she wanted me to report it to the sheriffs, and I haven't heard from her since. And we got a team going, to search for her, and then all of a sudden it was kind of interesting that we were told, within an hour of searching maybe, that Corbin had called my mother and said, we have some news for you, can you come to the office? So he went there to the sheriff's department, and he had told her that he had jumped through hoops, but they found Amanda and she's safe in a safe home.
Who is Corbin?
Corbin is the sheriff of Huron County. And so the search stopped. Well, then I get a text from Michelle Rear, which she's married into the family. She knows my mother very well because she used to work with my mother. And she tells me that, well, there's a couple incidents. Ren, Fred's mother, was saying that she's in a mental institution and that the sheriffs were going to tell her family that she's in a hospital. And so all these different things that were coming by me, I was like, this doesn't make sense. She also had stated that Paul, which is Fred's brother, did not like people on her land. And so she told Michelle that Paul was getting antsy about, people being there. So in my opinion, we were told to get off the property, basically. I don't think there was ever a time that he talked to anybody, my opinion. But because of all the texts that Ren was saying, she was even saying, because I had posted on Facebook of all the information that I had, which, about what Ren was saying to Michelle Rear and Audrey. And then it was just so weird, but we were told to get off the property because of the search, and so it didn't make sense to me. And I'm just so.
Why come to the Cleveland Missing?
Lara, my best friend in high school, she reached out to me, and she knew Sylvia, and she knew about the program, and she called Sylvia, and Sylvia called me right away. And Sylvia's been our backbone ever since, and Majoy, and they've been helping us along the way because they've seen what we see. It's confusing. It doesn't make sense. Why is it that she's been missing for 5.5 years? Why is it that, certain protocols, okay, but if you look at all the stuff with the balance of it, it doesn't make sense. My sister would not leave us for 5.5 years and not say nothing. This whole thing of 5 years of Corbin constantly saying she's safe, she's in a safe home, but yet 5.5 years later, he's still saying that, but now he can't find her, so BCI took over. He said here.
So we have another question. It's a two-part. Why do you think it took 5.5 years for this to finally get
Yes.
to an investigation? And two, when were you told by the sheriff's office that Amanda's now missing?
Why did it take 5.5 years?
I
Is our question.
just want to also answer that. When she first came up missing, of course, I'm her mother. Sheriff Corbin told me that she was in a safe house. As a mother, you want to believe that, And I lived on that. I mean, that is what was my coffee every day, was knowing that she's in a safe house. She's going to be okay. She's going to come home. She's going to see her family. She's going to see her boys. So I kept believing that. And then occasionally I'd drop by his office and I'd sit in the waiting room sometimes because they say he was in a meeting. I said, I'm not going anywhere until he talks to me. So he would eventually come out. And he said, oh, you haven't heard from your daughter yet? And I said, no, that's why I'm here. And I said, can you get her my phone number? I can get him a Christmas card I left there for him to get to her. He never told me that he was not ever able to do that, or those things didn't get to her, or she's gone from there. Or he always led me to believe she was there. And so I started getting really weary about this whole thing, and I reached out to James Renner. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he works on cold cases in Ohio, and he got me connected with Channel 3, and they did a segment on her missing 3 years ago. And they interviewed me at my home, and also went to his office and interviewed him. And he said that Amanda's an adult. If Amanda wants to contact her family, that is at her discretion. But that she was safe. And that was 3 years ago. And so here we are today. No Amanda, no contact, no friends, no family, nothing. We still have nothing. And so, but I lived on that. I lived on those words from him. And because thinking the opposite would have crushed me. I would not have been functioning. But I'm really concerned because this isn't right. Something's wrong.
When were you told that she's now unaccounted for, and what does your gut tell you as her
2
mother?
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, what does your gut tell you as her mother?
I just have some bad feelings, but I'm trying to stay optimistic, you know? But it's been hard. It's been hard. But I know this is not her, so I know no one could have kept her back from her family. She loves her family. And no one would put those reins on her. She was a tiger, you know? I don't know, my gut feeling, I'm just trying to stay positive. Just trying to stay positive.
It's hard when people lie to you for so long.
Well, but that's why I believed that all these years and why I didn't get more proactive in looking for her as we are now is because of what I was told. And that's what like I said, I thrived on that. I needed to know that. I needed to know she was safe.
Do you think if an investigation was done 5 years ago, would you even be in this space right now?
No. Because we would have had answers.
Yeah, if they were so caring and helping us and understanding our, feelings about this whole thing, instead of shoving us away and just telling us what they want to tell us, eventually what makes you think that your family's not going to look for, your loved one? It's been 5.5 years. It's not like Amanda to do that. I'm sorry, but it's not. That is not her.
What explanation, if any, were you given for why she's now unaccounted for?
I'll tell you the truth, about 2.5 weeks ago, we went to Sheriff Corbin's office to file a missing persons report because she's missing. And we were denied, said that we had to prove that she was in danger. And I had told the deputy that my daughter's been missing 5.5 years. That's danger enough to me. I'm her mother. I feel she's in danger. And we were still denied because we couldn't prove that she was in danger.
Can you tell us a little about the email that you sent the sheriff that prompted him to open up an investigation? You pretty much demanded.
I did a demand letter to the sheriff's office for proof of life. I needed a proof of life, okay? He's telling our Sandusky Register that that she's safe and she's fine. And this is before the Sandusky Register met with me and Joshua. And I'm sure because he couldn't give Mr. Westerhold answers to his questions that were convincing, but he kept telling him that she was safe. And so he was telling people this and the media that she's safe up to 2.5 weeks ago. So I sent a demand letter, and the demand letter says, look, you have 7 business days to give proof to our family, Amanda's family, that she's safe, alive, and she's okay. Or if you can't prove this within 7 business days, then I would like to open an investigation for her missing. And I guess he didn't come back to me and tell me personally, but he did say he couldn't give us that proof in a press release. So,
Or was it, he didn't have to?
no, he couldn't give us the proof that she was alive. So now he's looking for her too.
And by proof of life, what would you suggest they could provide that would show proof of life, just so we know?
A video
A video or?
of her
A
saying I'm
video
safe?
or her, I just want to hear her voice. I know her voice.
And there was an advocacy agency that the sheriff described as being involved in helping your sister and your daughter escape a violent situation. That was the message you were given.
Yeah,
Do you think the advocacy agency should assist you now in getting that proof of life?
absolutely.
And have you been able to ask the
No,
advocacy agency?
because we're not given that information of who the advocacy is, that she was with. And he won't tell us, no one has told us anything about her whereabouts at that time, where she was. We have nothing. We have all we have is words, you know? We have nothing about my daughter being safe. I just,
How do you know she's not in danger? No one's talked to her.
how can I even prove to anybody in this room that my daughter's safe? But I know she's missing because she hasn't contacted her family. That demand letter was what I was counting on, to prove to me that she's okay, you know, if she's got to do this, whatever she's doing, you know, and if it's for her benefit, that's okay with me. But show me something. I have no closure. You know, I have nothing.
And you've met recently with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the State Bureau of Criminal Investigation,
Yes.
an arm of the Ohio Attorney General's office. Is it your understanding that BCI will take the lead in this investigation? And tell us about your meeting with them, and were you encouraged how this will move forward in the weeks ahead?
Well, John and Joy has been a great help to us in orchestrating a lot of this, so appreciate all your work with us. But BCI, we just basically met with today. This is the first time I had contact with them. But I know Chief and Joy's been working with them all this time. I know it's a short time, but it seems like an eternity. But I think the BCI is taking the lead on this. And like I said, they have to start from the beginning, because it's basically a new case. It's a 5.5-year-old case, but it's new. It's new to the people who that are seeking to find her. There's nobody actually been searching for her all this time. You know, I can't, as a mother, I don't have the answers. I don't have the tools. I don't know where. That's why we reached out for help. We don't know what to do. And I know I'm talking in circles here, but I'm sorry, but it's everything running through my mind. But BCI, I feel confident that they're gonna make some headway in this case, and I think they'll get us answers here soon. It won't be another 5.5 years. But you know, if Amanda, if you hear this wherever you may be, I just pray that you know you're in good hands, a good investigative team working with us, and I pray that we get you home real quickly.
I don't think we'll be pushed off to the side again. I think I have a really good feeling about they'll be good. They'll be on our side. They'll help us.
Any other questions from the meeting?
If you don't get the results or the answers, even from Ohio BCI, do you plan to sort of keep going up that ladder to the Attorney General?
I'll climb as high as I have to.
We're never gonna give up. We never did. For 5 years, we've been trying to find her, but all of a sudden, it finally escalated to where it needs to be. And then we're just gonna keep going and going until where it needs to be. She needs to be home.
And one for the chief. Right now today, is anybody considered a person of interest, wanted for questioning, any category like that at all?
So just a couple of things. So this is a grassroots investigation with BCI. And so as you heard today, that BCI has just gotten the information, they've just gotten the case, and so they're starting from ground zero. So at this point, there is not a person of interest, there is no suspect. Obviously, there's a lot of inroads that point in a certain direction, and BCI is going to follow all those roads to do whatever they have to do. I think one of the key messages that we would like to convey today is that if anybody has any information, whether it is they heard something, they saw something, they have an idea of something, they may have overheard a conversation, they saw something on social media, there is no tip that is too small. We would ask them to kindly call BCI. That would be 1-855-BCI-OHIO, or contact the Huron County Sheriff's Department. The Huron County Sheriff's Department will run a parallel investigation with BCI, and so as Cleveland Missing, we're very, very confident that the Dean family is in very good hands with law enforcement and the direction this investigation is going.
Chief, have you talked to the sheriff?
I have not spoken with the sheriff. I understand, I've heard some of the challenges that the family has experienced. I can't really comment to that other than I can feel and sense their frustrations. But what I do know now is that once it was conveyed to us, one of the first phone calls that I made was to BCI and said, hey, are you familiar with this case? Can we talk to you about this? And so our relationship with Cleveland Missing and BCI is very, very strong. And so they were able to get on board right away and get moving with everything. So, of course, the holidays slow things down just a little bit, but I'm very confident with BCI, their resources. They've already commenced the investigation. They've already started doing as much background. They talked to some of the family members today. I look for that to continue, and I look for them to not have to wait any longer than what they've already have.
Chief, could you just give us a primer on the foundation and its role and what it is?
So the Cleveland Center for Family Missing, the Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults, also known as Cleveland Missing, we were started by Sylvia Colon and Gina DeJesus. Everyone knows Gina was a victim of the Cleveland kidnappings. She was held against her will for 9.5 years. And Sylvia is her cousin, and their vision was to form an organization that doesn't exist. And the organization is something that they did not have while Gina was missing. They did not have a medium of a place to go, people to talk to. Law enforcement is doing their investigation, and while there's victims advocacy and locations, and they're very good at what they do, there isn't an organization where you can go to who has the experience. And I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. I don't know what it's like to have a missing family member. But we have people who do, and we know what they experience. We know the trauma, we know the challenges, and we know some of the things that they had to deal with. And so our goal as an organization is to try to bridge that gap. And so when you apply that to the current case at hand, we're going to let BCI and the Sheriff's Department do their thing and do an investigation. We're going to work with the family. We're going to provide the family whatever resources they need. Hence being here today, because we're getting all this information out here that was never put out there before, but now it is. And so while this is going on, while there's a parallel investigation, our organization will supply resources to the family as much as we need to do to bridge that gap between law enforcement, the family, and the investigation. And so this is a one-of-a-kind organization in the country. We've spoken on all different levels, out of state, in state. Just 3 months ago, we did a presentation to the New Jersey State Police, and they wanted to know what we did. We spoke at the Ohio Attorney General's Conference, the Ohio Police Chief Conference, the FBI National Academy Conference, the National Crime Conference in Austin, Texas. We're getting the word out, and the word is that we are here to help families of missing persons, and that's what we're going to continue to do. I'm very thankful that the family has reached out to us. We've been able to make some serious inroads for them, and we're going to continue to do so, and we're going to be with them as long as it takes. Even if I retire, I'm still with them.
Oh.
Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
In your years of experience, have you ever had a case similar to this where a victim of domestic violence is whisked away to a safe house and no one hears her voice, but yet they're saying she's okay, she's with us? Have you ever experienced that?
It's a really good question, and the answer, I have not personally experienced that. I've experienced, obviously, many domestic violence cases in my life. And in this particular case, there's a bit of a balance because while it is in fact true that a person who doesn't want to be found is not missing, and we know that, putting it off to the side, but in this particular situation, it doesn't sound like this was a person that didn't want to be found. And so when a victim goes to a shelter, those are generally short-term. A week, 2 weeks, 30 days at a shelter is generally going to be a lot, although sometimes it could be longer, but in most cases that is really a lot. And they do have confidentiality laws, and so what they are allowed to convey, and we've heard a little bit about that this morning, which adds a different dimension to the case. It makes it a little bit challenging. In this particular case, there are a lot of unanswered questions that I'm very confident that BSAT will get answers to, because Amanda doesn't sound like the person that doesn't want to be found, in my opinion.
Are these safe houses registered with the state? Or do and that means you're registered with the state and you're qualified to accept a very, very vulnerable victim?
Sure. No, it's a fair question. It's a good question. And I don't know that safe house is really the best answer, the best term. My belief is that this was a victims advocacy center. This is not the CIA. This is not putting a person in witness protection or something like that. At least there's no indication of that here. And so I think that safe house may have just been a term used in jest that she is safe. Now, again, I don't have any information on that, so I can't speak fairly on that. However, my guess is that she probably may have been at a domestic violence shelter or some sort of victim shelter. But as far as what you're suggesting, that there's a state-run safe house organization that's behind the scenes or underground, I'm not aware of one that exists. And so in this particular case, my belief is that they were referring to some sort of victims advocacy center or like a safe harbor place where victims, and each county has them, where victims of violence and domestic violence can go to and be safe.
Then my next question would be, I am a victim of domestic violence. I've been an advocate for women who were in the same situation. And so I'm aware of that frame of mind at that time. And Joshua has talked to me about the frame of mind and physical condition his mom was in when he last talked to her. Now we know she had no vehicle and she had her phone smashed. How does a person in that vulnerable state with no transportation and no use of a cell phone contact some kind of safe harbor that's going to come in and whisk her away from these people? It makes no sense to me. If someone could explain that, how she found this group. How did she reach out to this? Who gave her this information? It appears that she was surrounded by people who were not reaching out to help her in any way. So where did she get this thought of, I'm going to have some people come in and whisk me away?
Right. So I think the best answer is that somehow it appears as though she did have contact with law enforcement back in 2017. I do recall reading one of the articles that someone was quoted that she had sustained adverse injuries as a victim of domestic violence. So I wish I could speak more intelligently with specific information because I don't have that. However, my thinking is that she probably had contact with law enforcement and, maybe declined to press charges. While that may not have been the best course of action to travel, if she was injured, but, sometimes victims may not come fully out and say who did what, although everybody in the world would know what happened. And so as a victim yourself, you may know this and seen other victims like that, and that makes it very, very challenging. So I don't know that it's safe to say that she was whisked away to someplace. That is a question that I would like to see answered, and that is, how did she get from A to Z? Where did she go? Who did she talk to?
It's not walking distance to any police
That's correct.
station, anywhere.
Well, and the reality is that if you ask anybody in the room, where's the closest domestic violence shelter, there's advocacy centers, but as far as a shelter goes, we don't even know where they're at. And there's a reason why we don't know where they're at, because we need to keep people safe. And so, in my patrol days, if we had a victim, we had a drop-off point. Now, we had a general idea where the house was at, but we never knew exactly which one it was, and there's a reason behind that. And so, how did Amanda go from here to here? Those are a lot of questions that need to be answered. But again, I have all the faith in the world in BCI that they're going to be able to answer a lot of these questions. And, we've made significant inroads already. In the last 3 weeks, there's been a lot of progress that has transpired that has not in 5 years. And so we can't fix what happened yesterday, we can fix today and tomorrow. And that's why we're here today. And so we want to emphasize, if anybody has seen anything, heard anything, call BCI, 1-855-BCI-OHIO. Call somebody, call the Huron County Sheriff's Department. No tip is too small. We need your help. The public is our biggest asset, and we need to access that right now.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Like for safe houses, okay, let's say the max is like 30 days or whatever the max day is. Now, do they take the person and give them a home? Or what do they do like after they leave and go through their
Transition.
Their process.
Like, what happens afterwards? Where do they go?
So I think that the fair answer is that they try to place them wherever they can place them. And I think the best answer to give is that it depends. And it really depends on the circumstances here. Sometimes a victim may voluntarily leave a safe home. Sometimes a victim, and I don't know that there's a specific time frame where they generally stay. I don't think that there's a 30-day that you have to leave after 30 days, but I do believe that they're going to try to place them into a place where they're going to be safe and ensure their safety, whether that's filing for protection orders or getting them into some place where they can be safe, where they don't have to live under the fear of threat of physical harm from a loved one, or in this case a former loved one, whatever the case may be. So I think that that's a fair assessment.
So for her to work and pay rent, wouldn't it be known like where she was at, if she had to get a job and pay rent and stuff? Like if they let her go and she completed her assessments and stuff and
Sure.
whatever else they do there,
Mhm.
how would she survive? How would she have a car? Do they supply her with cars and homes and stuff? And
Right. No.
and couches and beds and, do they pay for all that?
No. So again, I
don't
think
know
that
where
these
she
are,
would go. She don't know anybody outside of,
I agree with you 100%. And
I just
I
don't
wish I
know.
had an answer
I know you
that
do,
would,
but I'm just,
again, these are one of many, many questions that the investigation is going to have to turn to. And there's going to be a lot of rabbit holes, but no stone's going to go unturned. And again, I have the fullest confidence in BCI that they're going to do a very detailed and comprehensive investigation because there are a lot of questions. And I think that they're fair questions, they're good questions.
because I don't know
Because
what
somebody's
it's like
missing.
to be in a domestic violence home or, I don't even know how she called them either. Like, because Fred would break every one of her phones. Unless she took Ren's phone, but how would she get the number instantly?
Right.
Like, how does she know who to call? Like, how has she supplied that number or who to talk
How
to?
did she get there? Who took her there?
Yeah.
Where was she
And
at? How long was she there? What services was she
If
given?
Corbin was saying that she was so, like, beaten to where it was like, he stated in the first newspaper article that it was so horrific, you know, like, I don't get why if he said that he saw her and it was the worst beating that he's ever seen, that
Not
he didn't,
quite those words, but
but,
he says it was a really bad case of domestic violence, but later I had asked him if he had actually seen or heard my daughter's voice ever, and he said no.
so how do you state that it was a very bad domestic violence, but yet turn around and say he never saw her, but yet turn around and say she didn't press charges, but turn around and say he never talked to her? How do you know she didn't press charges if you never talked to her?